Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello everybody, Michael Quarles here, and welcome to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Man, it's exciting. Today has been an outstanding day. I enjoyed those in my life tremendously today. Wife, I love you, and life is good. I hope it is good for you too. If it is not, it's your fault. So you're responsible for how great your life is. No one else is. So, if it sucks today, change it. If it's great today, don't change it. Make it better, but don't change it. Don't make it worse. Today we have some questions sent in by a real estate investor. And remember, if you have questions, send it to support@michaelquarles.com. Again, support@michaelquarles.com. Quarles is Quarles, like S as in Sam.com. Remember, if you want to get into the coaching program or chat about it, text investor to the number 313131. Yes, I know that's only 6 numbers, but it will work. It'll come to me. There'll be a little questionnaire for you. I'll chat with you to see if we're a fit, and we'll fall forward teaching you how to buy houses for profit. Also, remember about yellowletters.com if you have any marketing needs, from yellow letters to postcards to business cards to door hangers, those kinds of things. Yellowletters.com. It's a little company that I have. I love it. They do great things for a lot of people out there like yourself who just need to get your message out to sellers that you actually buy houses for profit. And, the templates galore, which is really cool. You don't have to go and design your own. We know what works. All you have to say is what works, and they're going to lead you in the right direction. And if you have something that you designed yourself, great, we can do that too. So just remember yellowletters.com. Here we go. Question number 1. Some of the houses are in neighborhoods that are run down. Should I stay clear of these houses? Run down is a big word. It's a really big word because I don't know what it means. Now, because there's a lot of houses that I consider different than my own that some would consider run down. They're just different to me. So I am not wanting to pass judgment on that house. So, here's an example. You drive down the street and there's graffiti on 6 of the 12 houses on the street. Obvious graffiti. Someone's gone there and you can tell it's different colors, been there all, for a while. Or you drive down the street and people are parking their cars on the lawn and you see broken down vehicles and you see trash and you see, 4-foot fences in the front and, do you buy those houses? Well, of course you buy those houses. Everything's about price. Everything's about what you can buy it for, what you can sell it for. And we can't use our personal opinion about how someone else is living. As long as how they're living is legal, then we can't have a personal opinion about that. We have to have a financial opinion. That's the only opinion we have. And so, if I drive down the street and I see 6 houses that have the graffiti of the 12, I'm just going to say, man, to the seller, it is a terrible neighborhood, isn't it? No wonder you want to sell this property. And the seller's going to agree with me because no one sells their house unless they think something's wrong. They want to better their life. Their life is becoming better because they're moving someplace else. They're getting out of the neighborhood, whatever it is. Very few people are going to say, no, I just love it here, but I'm selling anyway. That conversation just doesn't happen. So we can kind of rest assured that they're going to agree with us. And I'm just going to, mitigate it. So I'm going to say, look at value and subtract that, because how you feel, somebody else may feel. So it may take a little longer to sell a house in a quote unquote rundown area. But we're going to determine how long it takes because we're going to research days on market for that market. And, say, okay, well, in this market, it only takes 32 days. In another market, it takes 10 days. And you'll be surprised. This is a really strange thing. in that quote unquote rundown market, you'll be surprised that most of those have a lower day on market than the other areas that you don't consider rundown. And when you start doing some of that research, you're going to go, wow, why do people buy those houses faster than in other areas? Because they can buy more. From an investor's perspective or from a homeowner's perspective, they can buy more. You know, in my neighborhood, the kitchen part of the house is what the whole house would be in some quote unquote rundown areas. So in the rundown areas, they get the kitchen and the bathrooms and the bedrooms and the garage for the same price that I get my kitchen. So they can just buy more. And then the investor perspective, they have a greater ability to create wealth because they can buy more units for the same dollar value. And again, I see it too many times where people that like, quote unquote, the rundown neighborhoods, if that's where they want to live, that's where they want to live. They would be as uncomfortable in my neighborhood as I would be in their neighborhood. And so just understand that we've got to be really conscientious of that rundown neighborhood. Question number 2. Do you get any kickback from sellers once they find out that you're going to turn around and put it on the market? No, not at all. You know why? Because it says it right there in the big old print on my contract, and I let them know what my intention is. I'm going to list your house on the multiple listing service. I'm going to advertise it in periodicals, and I could be putting a for sale sign in the front yard tomorrow. My intention is I'm going to sell your house for a huge, and the word huge is bold and the largest word on the page, for a huge profit. And I may not sell your house. I may sell the right to buy your house, what we call an assignment. But I'm very upfront. I'm very, here's what I do, and be okay with what I do. That way they don't have to, they won't come back to me and say, hey, you're making, $60,000 more than what I'm selling it to you for. No, I'm not making that. I'm hoping I'll make that. But so far I haven't made any money. So far I've taken the risk that I expressed to you that I'd be taking. And I'm going to try to use my professionalism to do something that you may not have been able to do because you're not a professional real estate investor. But I can guarantee that the amount of money that we agreed on is the amount of money that you receive on the day that we agreed on it, or that we agreed that you receive it. And so even at the worst, that's the conversation you have. But you really don't have that conversation because we've been above board and forthcoming in the beginning. We're not hiding anything. Don't hide. Don't hide from anybody. It doesn't matter what you pay for something. It doesn't matter what you sell for something for, to anybody but you. Okay? Get that thought out of your brain. If someone doesn't want to buy the property from you because they are jealous that you were able to buy it for a lower value, then they don't buy it from you. You sell it to somebody else who understands that, hey, there's a cost of being in business to find the opportunity that they want, and they're okay with it. Right? So don't concern yourself with those people who have that negative thought process. Just fall forward, be forthcoming with all your seller and your buyer. And now I'm not saying, go and brag to your buyer, hey, I'm going to make $60,000 if you buy it from me today. No, but if they say, hey, how much are you paying for the house? I'm paying $60,000 less. It doesn't matter. Okay? Because here's the bottom line. If you think you should say something, you should. If you think that if you were that person, you would want to know something, you should tell them. Okay? So if you want it, you do business with people how you would want to have business done with you. So that's how you carry yourself. If it's okay for you to be deceived by somebody else, then I guess it's okay for you to deceive somebody else. But if it's not okay to be deceived, then don't deceive. So be forthcoming. That's the easiest way. Easiest way.
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. Are you running out of leads? It's time you tried Yellow Letters at yellowletters.com. Get motivated seller leads through yellow letters, postcards, zip letters, typed professional letters, greeting cards, door hangers, and business cards. Yellow Letters is a full-service marketing company created with your success in mind. Get the personal attention you need to get your direct mail campaign started and get in touch at yellowletters.com. And we are back in 3, 2, 1.
Next question. In my state, if you complete a simultaneous close, you have to pay closing costs, 3% twice. Are wholetail transactions usually completed using a simultaneous close? If so, I would have to discount the property a larger amount to cover the additional 3%. How do you handle this situation? Wholetailing means inevitably that you're always going to buy it before you sell it. So here's the difference between wholesaling and wholetailing. Wholesaling typically, and most people use the word wrong, typically means assigning, and they're selling the right to buy that contract for a percentage of the potential profit. So that contract represents $50,000 in profit, so they're going to sell the contract to somebody, and typically for about 10% of that 50. So they're going to get 5 for it. Wholetailing means if there's $50,000 worth of spread there, they're going to make all of that, with the exception of the double closing costs and some of those things. So whether you subtract it or whether you go, hey, second, I'm making a lot more. Instead of only making 10%, now I'm making all of it minus the extra 3 or 6%. I would rather do the wholetailing than the wholesaling. Now, simultaneous closes or concurrent closes or, closing next week and I'm buying it this week. Doesn't matter, the costs are the same. There are things that you can do within the purchase of your property to offset some of those costs. So as an example, title insurance. On a concurrent or a simultaneous or buying it today, selling it next week, there's going to be 2 title insurance policies, typically at least. So you're going to pay the cost of the seller's title insurance to sell it to you, and then you're going to pay the cost of the seller's insurance to sell it to somebody else, because we pay all the costs. Well, when I buy that title policy from my title insurance company, I'm going to let them know that I want to buy the binder or the writer to resell it, and that cost to do it originally is only 10%. Rather than having 2 policies, I'm only paying 110% of my total costs instead of 200%. Until you understand the HUD, you see the HUD one and you see the cost difference, that may not make sense to you. But when you know you're going to flip something and you order title insurance, make sure that they realize that you want to buy the binder or the writer, depending on what they want to call it. It's going to cost you 10% more at that point. But when you go to resell it, then the cost of that title insurance policy is considerably less, because you're basically buying it in advance. Now, for those of you that may be 65 years or older, and in some states the age may be lower than that, so check with your title company. Ask them if there are any senior discounts or age discounts to title insurance. Now, keep in mind, title insurance is insurance, so the cost of the insurance is preset with the state insurance commissioners. So it's not set by the state, but the title insurance company has already told in advance what they were going to charge, so they can be regulated. But most title companies have a discount program for seasoned individuals. So ask them if you qualify. The other thing on title insurance, they're going to sell you their most expensive type of title insurance. Is that in fact something you need? And ask them, what's the difference between the title policies and the cost of those policies? And sometimes you'll find that the most expensive, although it's great title insurance, you don't need it. You're not afraid of fraud. You're not afraid of some of the elements that maybe the second tier or the third tier title insurance policy doesn't cover, because that's not possible. It's not a possibility here, so you don't need to buy the insurance. But if you just call a title insurance company up and order title insurance, they're going to sell you what they sell you. I mean, they're not going to necessarily protect that cost right or that cost benefit there for you. So understand that. Now, transfer tax for the state, yeah. If you're in Philly, you're going to get nailed twice. So you have to mitigate that. You have to know that. But keep in mind, if you're assigning, you're still getting considerably less income wholesaling or assigning than you are wholetailing. So be conscientious of subtracting too much money on your offers, because you're still making all the money. So yeah, you're going to have double costs. It's just part of the game. On your escrow, now escrow for some people will be closing attorney. Work out an arrangement with your closing attorney. Now, in my city, we use escrow, and I know what my escrow costs are. Now, the first time I use an escrow company, it's going to be the most expensive. After 3 or 4 times, I'm going to have that cost reduced because they know I'm bringing them a book of guaranteed business that's reliable, that they go, okay, Mike is good for X dollars into our business every month. So I can start getting some of those costs that aren't mandated and regulated by the state, escrow, those kinds of things. So the costs, I'm not talking about the responsibility, I'm talking about the cost. I can start getting some of those things less expensively. Are they going to charge me to draw docs? Are they going to charge me to sign docs? Are they going to charge me the courier fees? Sometimes they will. Sometimes I'll be able to go, Mike, we don't need to charge you anymore because we're getting this book of business. So it's about your relationships that you're going to start building with some of these service providers. And building those relationships are really important in the beginning. You need to know this before you enter into an agreement with someone, what your costs are going to be. Because if you have to mitigate a cost, you have to know about it in advance. And, I preach to my coaching students, go out and find that person. That's one of the most important things we do. In the beginning of our career as a real estate investor, start talking to contractors and lenders and realtors and service providers. And extremely important. Okay. Some people don't deal with some of those vendors in the beginning. And here's the conversation they're going to have with the sellers. Seller's going to agree to their price. They're going to sign a contract. The first thing out of the seller's mouth is going to be, besides thank you, is who are you using to close this transaction? Worst thing you can say is, I don't know. You want to be able during your presentation to say, I use Billy Bob or Mary Jane over at XYZ title company, and here's their business card, or I use this closing attorney and here's his or her business card. And you want to act professional and act as if you have done it before. As if this is the first time you've done something, boy, you really make sure you're prepared. All right. So be conscientious of setting these relationships up in advance. Next question. Before completing a wholetail deal, should I check with an attorney to make sure it's legal to list the property if I don't technically have ownership? Well, you should check with an attorney anytime you're uncertain about something. So if there's negative recourse or something that could possibly happen to you, if you did something the wrong way, then I would want to confirm I was doing it the right way. So that's a big question. For me, I have determined I can put something on the market in my state, in my board of realtors, my local MLS, in advance of me owning it. I have done the research with NAR, National Association of Realtors. I've done research on the mandates that National Association of Realtors and their guidelines and how they require their boards to perform. I've communicated with my attorney, who's very expensive. I've been challenged by my local board of realtors and won. So understand that if you think you should, from a legal perspective, you should. You should go and have it looked at for yourself so you can feel comfortable. I don't need to do that, and I am not giving you legal advice. I just know I have done those things, and I can tell you that from an investor's perspective, when we have equitable interest in a property, then we have the right to sell it. What happens is when a seller, assuming that you don't use an option agreement, when the seller sells you something, when they agree to selling you something, they are giving you the title then of the seller. They're no longer the seller. They don't have that. They don't hold that title anymore. They're selling you that right inside of the agreement. You can have that title. They are the owner in most cases. So they have constructive ownership. Constructive means they have noticed the world through a recorded document in the county that they are the title holder to that property. So they have constructive ownership. But they've relinquished the right to sell it, because once they enter into an agreement with you to buy it, they can't sell it to anybody else, so they can no longer be the seller. So now you have the right to be the seller because you have equitable interest. National Association of Realtors mandates that it is the seller who must authorize the insertion of the property in the local MLS. It is not the constructive owner of the property, and they're very clear not to name the owner, and they use the word owner on other requirements that you must have with the constructive person. But from a sell perspective, who can sell something, only the seller can sell something. Because the owner cannot list a property in the multiple listing service once they have the right to sell it. I mean, they've already relinquished the right to sell it. So once they sell it to me, they can't list it. It's a violation of my agreement. So they're no longer the seller. Okay, that's one of the reasons we end up getting memorandum of contracts that we can record to tell everybody that we are now the seller, that we have equitable interest in that property. Before that property can get sold to anybody else, we have to authorize it because we are in fact the seller. We're not the constructive owner, but we are the seller. That's the idea of memorandum of contract. So I hope that makes sense, and I can't express it anymore, but if you doubt that, if you doubt anything, whether it's legal or not, you should go and seek the advice of an attorney. And I'll caution you, not all attorneys understand real estate law. They have all passed a bar exam, but keep in mind that bar exam is a macro exam. So they're covering a lot of little things and a lot of different things in that bar exam. And that's why, like my attorney, his practice, they probably have 50 attorneys. And if I call him and I say, I want to do a certain thing that's outside of his comfort zone, outside of his expertise, he's going to refer me to the person inside of his organization that's their expertise. Okay, so he can talk about it, but he can't litigate it if I need him to litigate it. He can't confirm that the agreements that we're going to produce or the documents that we're going to produce are as thorough as they should be because it's not his area of expertise. So he's going to refer me to somebody else. And understand that when you interview an attorney and ask them some of these basic questions for us, they're not basic questions for them. So be very careful that you're asking the right attorney. And boy, those were, again, I'm going to say those are interesting questions. And I appreciate everybody listening. Remember, if you like this program, please go to iTunes and give me a rating and a review. So other people that are, passing through iTunes and they see the show and they want to know what it's about, that they can see your review and say, yeah, this is something I want to listen to too. So if it helps you, if you get any nugget of information when you listen to these podcasts, please share the fact that you get that nugget of information with other folks so they too can learn and grow and the show can grow. So it benefits both of us. So I appreciate you guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.